I go way, way back. I grew up in children's theater, actually. So I've been acting since I was 9. I was a drama major in college up at UGA in Athens. And when I was 18 years old, there ended up being a television series shooting on location in Athens. And I got on as an extra, and I became a featured extra, and I ended up doing 4 episodes. And although I had always done theater my whole life, the day I walked onto my first film set, I was just hooked. I was fascinated. I would go up to the grips and say, what does a grip do? Or the gaffers, or the DP, and just ask them questions, and I just was fascinated by the process. And so even though I was still a declared drama major, I started taking some film classes and have really been doing it ever since. I started producing about 10 years ago, and I found that as an actress, we're very limited in the types of roles we're presented with. And being in a market like Atlanta, which there are some, under 5s available, you are competing with 300 other actresses for 1 or 2 lines in a big studio film. Whereas if you become a content creator in indie film, you can create roles for yourself to play, and you can also help produce the films. And so I became a casting director for our production company, and would oftentimes put myself in the ensemble if there was a good role for me to play. I would never cast myself as the lead or anything, but I would want to be as part of the ensemble, and then I could wear many hats on the production. I could run lines with actors on set, I could script supervise, I could, do all the other duties producers do, and I could still be an actress as part of the ensemble. So that's kind of how it evolved. So been doing it for a long time now. I really ideally like to be an actor producer. I really like to be that hyphenate and wear both hats, because as an actor producer, I kind of get that acting bug out of my system, but I can also steer the project in the direction that I think the project needs to go. And we've done everything from adapting books to script doctoring to location scouting to whatever. You can, like I said before, just wear so many different hats as a producer and have real impact in terms of the content and how it's finalized and who sees it and where it goes, and submitting to festivals, for example, and just getting your babies out there and letting people see them. So I like to do both. Some of my favorite projects. Well, it's interesting this year being able to be part of the spotlight for female filmmakers this year, because it also happens to be the 25th anniversary of Basket Case 3, which is the film that I got my SAG card on. This was the first film I had a speaking role in, and I can't believe it's 25 years old, and now it's available on Blu-ray through Amazon if you're interested. So that was the film that I really learned my acting chops on a big set. That was also a film that was full of FX makeup. I mean, my character in particular was a severely deformed but lovable, unique individual who had a 10-pound bone growing out of her skull, this huge calcium stalk that grew out of her skull, and tons of latex. I was in the FX makeup chair for 4 hours every day. And it's interesting because my makeup artist on that film went on to win an Oscar for makeup for Star Trek, Joel Harlow. And he was a baby. He was maybe 22, 23 when he designed my makeup and applied it every day. And now he's one of the greats in this business. He is a renowned makeup artist. So that was a first for, lots of things. I mean, that was, my first speaking role. Like I said, the film I got my SAG card on, it was Joel's first big opportunity to design and create FX makeup. It was shot on location here in Georgia. Great cast. Got to work with the great Frank Henenlotter, who really took a chance on me because I was cast as a specialty extra with no lines. And I was cast mainly because I happened to resemble Jerry Lachey, who played Elise in Basket Case 1 and 2 and could not do 3. We facially have very similar features, and when I went to the open casting call, the first AD came up to me and said, "Oh my God, you look like Jerry Lachey." And I said, "Who's Jerry Lachey?" And he said, "She was Elise in 1 and 2, and we had to recast that role. When you get up to the front of the line," and there were 300 people there, "when you get up to the front of the line, please, when you slate, say, 'I'm interested in being Elise.' And that way, when we're going through all the tapes and we're seeing who we're going to cast as all these unique individuals, we'll remember you as that role." And so they cast me, and then I had to go through the plaster fit, I had to be under plaster, while they made the mold of my face. And then Joel and David Dupuy, my other makeup artists, had to design it and match it as much as possible to 1 and 2. And so I was just an extra for the first 2 or 3 weeks on set, going through that 4 hours a day, every day, not saying anything. And then finally I got up the nerve to go up to Frank Henenlotter and say, "Hey, Frank, I've studied 1 and 2, and I can do the Elise voice." And he said, "Well, let's hear it." So I auditioned for him on the spot, and I improv this whole Elise scene, doing the voice and the character. And he said, "Tomorrow you have a monologue. You are going to deliver a eulogy at the gravesite, and you are going to get SAG eligibility, and you are going to have a speaking role from here on out." And so I ended up having a supporting role in the film. So it was cool. Looking to Pat and I, we're developing a big Southern ensemble comedy that's set at a nursing home. So as part of our presentation, we're going to show a trailer from the short version of that, the second one short, which has now been changed to Alive and Kicking. That's the new working title. And we're also showing the world premiere trailer for Forgotten Word, which is a Da Vinci Code-esque religious thriller that we're going to be shooting here and possibly abroad. We've adapted a book written by a British novelist named Sam Jane Brown, and so she has commissioned the trailer from England. So this is a true world premiere in every sense of the word, and it's going to be a global project. And so we are in the process of finalizing scripts on both projects and raising funding, and these 2 will be our first 2 features. We've done a dozen shorts together. We've done a 10-episode web series. We've done a lot of genre films. We're going to be showing Communist Robot Aliens in its entirety. We're going to be showing Pigman in its entirety. We're going to be showing clips from Behind the Chords. But the 2 trailers at the end of the presentation are the features that we're currently working on. So hoping to generate interest for those 2 projects. No, there isn't, and thank you so much, because I think just shining a spotlight on Georgia female filmmakers is wonderful, because hopefully that will open the door for more people to do that, because there are actually a lot of us. Our production company is all female. And Andi Daniels, another person we talked to who does all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of us here working. So it's nice that you're bringing attention to that. So thank you. There really is. In Atlanta in general, I think the talent pool is very deep, both in front of and behind the camera. I am a SAG actor here, and it is a right-to-work state, and that can be kind of tricky. But for a long time, producers have flown actors in from LA to do these small roles that we can play here, and we can play leads here, and we can play good supporting roles here. And I just hope that as this film industry grows and grows and grows, we're at the $7 billion mark now because of our wonderful tax incentives. I'm hoping that people elsewhere will see, oh, I can crew up in Atlanta, I can cast my film in Atlanta, and we have that talent here. So by shining a spotlight on this talent pool, I think you're helping kind of get the word out. And there shouldn't be such a disparity between indie film and studio films. We're all in it together, and you should be able to do both and move seamlessly between the 2. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, because as an actor, sometimes I'll have a line or 2 in a Marvel movie, but then I may play a lead in an indie film, and just wanting to kind of bridge the gap there. And that would be nice if we could. Oh gosh, well, being a producer is just challenging in itself, because you have to kind of be a jack of all trades but a master of none, but you want it to be quality. So I think casting is a little bit of a challenge too, because we do have a great talent pool here, but there are a lot of people who come in for auditions that just they don't get it. I've had actors not show up for auditions. I've had actors who've come and just basically expect to be a lead because it's an indie film. And I think we need to know that you have to kind of pay your dues here. You have to do your homework. You have to study. You have to be in ongoing acting classes. You have to educate yourself on everything. And I think being a producer allows you to do that. I've done crafty, I've done script supervising, I've done makeup, I've done casting, I've done acting. And I've wanted to do all those things so that I have a real sense of what it takes to do every job on the set, And I think that's the challenge, is trying to educate people and let people know, hey, you got to do your homework. You got to learn. Get on an indie set, learn, be a grip, be a PA, be whatever you're qualified to be so that you can learn how it works. Because a great film is like a great meal, and sometimes you have to throw out the recipe. Sometimes it's a pinch of this and a dash of that, and all of the elements come together in order for it to be great. But a lot of times you just don't have enough salt or don't have enough spice or don't, and a lot of times on paper it looks very different than how it ends up being on screen. So I mean, it's a tapestry, it's a big undertaking. Even to do a short film, just to coordinate all those moving pieces of the puzzle. And a feature I'm finding a feature is pretty daunting. I mean, we've been in development for one feature for 5 years, the other feature for 2 years. On one of them, we've gone through 4 screenwriters, 2 name changes, several actor changes. On the other one, we're still adapting the novel. When you start with a novel and trying to make it cinematic, that's a whole nother challenge. So yeah, it's been a real interesting journey. The last 10 years as a producer has been a really interesting journey. Yeah, but fun though. It is fun, and I think you probably should stop doing it when it stops being fun, because it is a lot of work. Yeah, as you know, it's 12 hours a day on the set. And when you're doing pre-pro, it's months and months and sometimes years of pre-production before you even get to the set. Whew, so you have to just persevere. I kind of give post-production to someone else too. That's tough, because I'm not an editor. I'm not a composer, although I've hired composers like Brian Popkin who are so gifted. It's like, oh, your music would be so good at this. So, but yeah, post is not my thing, but sometimes I have to oversee post as a producer. Just make sure everybody, is doing what they need to do to get it done. And get it on the festival circuit, hopefully, or get it, in the theaters or whatever. Just come to the Spotlight tomorrow. You'll see all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's a nice representation of our body of work, I think. And Pat and I together have 50 years in the business. So to go back 25 with Basket Case 3 and then kind of focus on genre films and just flesh it out until the end of the presentation when we are kind of focusing on our films in the works, it was kind of a fun journey for us to look at all the stuff and all the footage and pick out hopefully what will entertain people tomorrow. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kevin.